Havenwood's Little Light. Lily Mae Thompson, a collection of sharp angles and youthful energy, perched on the edge of her miniature, flowered seat in the Sunday school room. Sapphire eyes riveted on Pastor Davies. Light fractured through the stained glass. Noah's menagerie, sailing a cerulean sea, casting jewel-toned patterns on the worn linoleum and illuminating a silent ballet of dust. Around her, classmates squirmed, sketching lambs with cartoonishly puffy fleece or murmuring about the next bake sale. But Lily was lost. In the pastor's discourse, he spoke of faith, of trusting in the unseen. This was thorny ground for Lily. She believed in the bluster of wind because branches bowed and winter's chill stung her cheeks. The sun was irrefutable truth, warmth on her skin, an azure canvas overhead. But God was different, elusive. When Pastor Davies paused, a serene smile touching his face, Lily's hand shot up, trembling just perceptibly. Public speaking felt akin to scaling a cliff. Yet her question pulsed urgently within her, demanding articulation. "Pastor Davies," she began, her voice barely audible. She swallowed, summoning bravery. "If God possesses boundless power, why doesn't he simply prevent all the suffering?" Silence descended, thick and heavy. Heads swiveled, crayons and whispers abandoned. Even Mrs. Henderson, the serene Sunday school instructor, looked taken aback. Pastor Davies didn't falter, he simply smiled. A comforting, knowing expression that always put Lily at ease. Kneeling, he met her gaze, his eyes twinkling with gentle mirth. "An excellent question. Lily may point one that has echoed through the ages." He pondered for a moment. "Imagine it this way," he offered, his tone soothing. "God bestowed upon us free will, the power to forge our own path. Sometimes those paths lead to pain. God refrains from controlling us like marionettes. He desires that we choose goodness, embrace compassion, and seek him out of our own volition." Lily frowned, gnawing on her lower lip. "But if his power is limitless, couldn't he gently guide us without stripping us of our agency?" Pastor Davies chuckled, a warm, fatherly sound. "Ah, Lily Mae, you are a keen spirit. It's a mystery. Indeed, God's design often surpasses our grasp. But I believe he works through us, through acts of kindness and compassion, to reshape the world. He doesn't wield a magic scepter. He inspires us to embody the change we long to see." The response didn't completely satiate her, but quieted the query for the moment. A glimmer of comprehension sparked in Lily's eyes as she nodded slowly. Later that afternoon, Lily sat amidst a towering fortress of library books on the living room floor. Sunlight streamed through the window, highlighting the faded artistry of the antique Persian rug, lost in the pages of a Marie Curie biography. She found herself mesmerized by the scientist's relentless pursuit of knowledge. The television, usually muted during her reading hours, sprang to life. Sarah, back from her shift at the local diner, eased into her worn armchair. Solemn-faced news anchors populated the screen. And the Trump campaign has scheduled a rally in Youngstown next week. The words barely registered at first, her focus glued to the illuminated pages. But the name Trump snagged her attention. It was a name she'd overheard, murmured by adults with a complex blend of reverence and scorn at a businessman, a politician, a figure of both immense wealth and fierce controversy. She glanced up at a picture of Donald Trump blazed on the screen, his gravity-defying coif a testament to sheer will, his expression a study in confidence laced with something indefinable. "He's coming to Ohio?" Lily inquired, her voice laced with earnest curiosity. Sarah sighed, the sound heavy with fatigue. "Yep, big rally in Youngstown, likely to ignite a whole heap of trouble." Lily couldn't fathom how words alone could ignite trouble. But the magnified image of Trump flickered with a strange allure, an undeniable fascination, a yearning to decipher the man behind the blaring headlines. That evening, seated at their small, circular kitchen table, sharing a humble supper of spaghetti and meatballs, Lily revisited the subject. "Mama," she said, twirling pasta around her fork, "what's Donald Trump like?" Sarah hesitated, lines creasing her forehead. Politics held little appeal for her, and she recoiled at the thought of filling Lily's mind with negativity. Still, she knew her daughter, a young mind hungry for information, constantly striving to make sense of the world. Well, Sarah began cautiously, some view him as a shrewd, successful businessman. Others, well, their opinions are less charitable. But what does he think? Lily pressed. What does he want? Sarah sighed again, pushing a meatball listlessly around her plate. He wants to make America great again, or so he claims. Ow! Lily's bright, unwavering gaze searched her mother's face. Sarah shrugged, defeated. I don't know, honey, he says a lot of things. Some of it resonates, some of it, well, I just can't say. Lily fell silent, ruminating on her mother's words. She lacked the vocabulary to dissect economics or partisan politics, but she thought she understood people, or at least was trying to, and she was desperate to understand Donald Trump. Mama, she said softly, her voice filled with an almost fierce determination. I want to meet him. Sarah nearly choked. Meet him? Lily May, that's simply impossible. He's a man of immense importance. He wouldn't have a spare moment for someone like you. But I want to ask him about God, Lily insisted, her voice resonating with conviction. I want to know if he believes. And if he does, I want to know why bad things still happen. Sarah stared, her features a complex tapestry of amusement and exasperation. Oh, Lily May, she sighed, shaking her head. You're one of a kind, but it isn't going to happen. Those rallies can get a little chaotic, and I'm not exposing you to that. Lily's countenance fell. Disappointment shadowed her bright eyes. Deep down, she knew her mother spoke the truth that IT was a foolish aspiration, a juvenile pipe dream. Yet, the burning desire to meet Trump, to pose her weighty questions, refused to be quelled. IT lingered in her soul, a tiny ember of hope stubbornly resisting extinction. She cleared the table. Lily stole a glance at the newspaper discarded on the counter. A blaring headline announced the upcoming Youngstown rally, promising a historic event and a chance to hear the unvarnished truth. Below, a photograph of Donald Trump, his expression resolute, his gaze fixed on some distant, unseen horizon of Havenwood's little beacon. Lily Mae Thompson felt an irresistible magnetism, a silent siren call, pulling her towards the unknown. She had no plan, no clear path forward. Yet with an unshakable certainty that defied reason, she knew she had to try. She had to try to meet Donald Trump. She had to ask him about God. The rally beckons. Lily Mae became immersed in the world of Donald Trump, poring over readily available sources to glean insight into the man behind the headlines. She bypassed the news snippets her mother often silenced with a frustrated grimace, preferring his own pronouncements. Online, she unearthed transcripts of his speeches on meticulously crafted websites, reciting them aloud in her room, mimicking his vocal tics and dramatic pauses. His business dealings, his published works, even his children's names, all became grist for her intellectual mill. She sought interviews where he ventured into matters of faith, searching for genuine spiritual insight. What she discovered was a perplexing mosaic, an array of declarations and cliches that both fascinated and perplexed her. He proclaimed strength and American exceptionalism, often attributing them to divine ordination. Yet, introspection, moments of quiet contemplation, or genuine grappling with doubt were conspicuously absent. One evening, Sarah discovered, Lily amidst a scattering of printed pages, her youthful brow deeply creased in thought. A palpable intensity emanated from Lily in the dim light of their small living room. Finished with your schoolwork, sweetie? Sarah inquired, collapsing onto the well-worn sofa with a weary exhalation that Lily's gaze lifted, her eyes shining with an almost unsettling fervor. Mom, you have to take me. Sarah understood instantly. The rally, just the prospect sent a ripple of apprehension through her. Lily Mae, we've discussed this, it's inappropriate. But Mom, I need to go. I need to understand. He talks about God, but how can he know? How can he be so confident when so many are suffering? The practiced assurance of her Trump impersonations crumbled, revealing raw, unfiltered yearning. Sarah drew Lily close, tenderly smoothing a stray lock of hair from her face. Sweetheart, I understand you're searching, but a political rally isn't the place for profound theological discussions that's chaotic, overwhelming. That doesn't matter. Please, Mom. Just consider that I won't ask for anything else, I promise. Lily's small hand gripped Sarah's with surprising force. I need to see him, that I need to pose my questions. Sarah beheld the urgent entreaty in her daughter's gaze, the burning desire for answers that it wasn't mere childish fancy. It was a sincere quest, a search for comprehension that resonated with her own long-suppressed inquisitiveness. She glimpsed a ghost of her younger self, the one who questioned every assumption, who spurned simplistic explanations. Let me think about it, all right? Sarah conceded, her tone gentler than intended. It's a significant decision, Lily May. Lily didn't push, her hopeful, unwavering gaze fixed on Sarah. Later, after Lily was asleep, Sarah dialed Marlene, a constant presence through the storms of life. Marlene was a steadfast friend, offering unwavering support and blunt honesty. Hey, girl. Marlene greeted, her voice a comforting balm. What's going on? I need your advice, Sarah said, her voice strained. Lily wants to attend the Trump rally. Marlene paused. Wow, that's quite something. What are your feelings? I don't know, Sarah exclaimed, running a frustrated hand through her hair. A part of me wants to shield her from it all. The polarization, the everything. But another part, she's so driven, Marlene, that it's bigger than just Trump. It's about her craving to grasp something profound. She wants to interrogate him about matters of faith, about the presence of pain. Marlene chuckled. Leave it to Lily May to want to corner a former president with metaphysical inquiries. Exactly. And I'm terrified. What if it's a madhouse? What if someone says something hurtful to her? What if her expectations are crushed? Sarah's voice trembled with suppressed feeling. Sarah, you can't immunize her from everything. Disappointment is an integral part of the human experience. And perhaps it's a chance for her to observe things firsthand that you'll be present, right? You can provide guidance, help her navigate whatever transpires. Marlene paused. Besides, knowing Lily, she'll likely end up teaching him a thing or two. A weak smile touched Sarah's lips. You always have the right words. That's what friends are for. But honestly, Sarah, trust your intuition. You know Lily best, that if you genuinely believe she needs this experience, then perhaps you should entertain the notion. Just prepare yourself for any eventuality. After the call, Sarah gazed out at the quiescent street. The streetlights cast elongated, misshapen shadows, rendering the familiar scene eerie and alien. The rally was scheduled for Saturday. She had 48 hours to deliberate, 48 hours to weigh the risks and the potential benefits. To reconcile her maternal instincts with her daughter's quenchless intellectual thirst, 48 hours to determine if she possessed the courage to expose Lily to the tumult and uncertainty of the world, in the hope that she might glean a modicum of understanding from it. The image of Lily's ardent face, bathed in the soft glow of the monitor as she immersed herself in Trump's pronouncements, materialized in her mind. I thought a profound sigh escaped her. Saturday was inexorably approaching. Ready or not, a mother's hesitation, a daughter's hope. Sarah stared at the chipped porcelain mug in her hands, the lukewarm tea doing little to soothe the anxiety twisting in her gut that Marlene's words echoed in her mind. You can't bubble wrap her forever, Sarah. But the thought of Lily, her bright, inquisitive Lily, wading into the throng of a Trump rally, it felt like throwing her into a roaring sea. Her own political leanings were a tangled garden, overgrown with skepticism and watered by a deep-seated belief in social justice. Trump, with his bombastic pronouncements and promises to make America great again, represented almost everything she instinctively recoiled from. His rhetoric, often divisive and seemingly fueled by a thirst for power, clashed violently with the quiet, compassionate faith she tried to instill in Lily. She set down the mug with a sharp click and turned to her laptop, the cool metal a stark contrast to her racing thoughts. Maybe, just maybe, if she armed herself with information, she could better prepare Lily for what she might encounter. She typed Donald Trump, faith into the search bar. The results were a dizzying mix of carefully crafted soundbites, conflicting interpretations, and outright accusations. Trump posing with Bibles, Trump quoting scripture, often incorrectly, according to several articles. Trump declaring himself a Presbyterian despite lacking any apparent theological knowledge. The sheer volume of information was overwhelming, and Sarah felt a familiar wave of frustration wash over her. The IT was all so manufactured. She clicked on a video of a past rally. The camera panned across a sea of faces, many wearing red hats emblazoned with slogans. Their expressions a mixture of fervent devotion and simmering anger. The roar of the crowd was deafening, punctuated by chants and cheers. Sarah imagined Lily, small and vulnerable, swallowed by that tide of emotion. Her hand instinctively went to her chest, a protective gesture she wasn't even aware she made. She spent the next hour lost in the digital rabbit hole, chasing down quotes and fact-checking claims. She read articles about his childhood, his business dealings, his controversial policies. Each piece of information added another layer to the complex, often contradictory portrait of the man Lily was so determined to understand. As the afternoon sun began to slant through the kitchen window, casting long shadows across the floor, Sarah closed the laptop. The research hadn't made her feel any better. In fact, it had amplified her anxieties. She still felt the pull of her protective instincts, the urge to shield Lily from the harsh realities of the world. But she also recognized the glint of intellectual fire in her daughter's eyes, the genuine thirst for knowledge that couldn't be ignored. Lily found her sitting at the kitchen table, a worn copy of Charlotte's Web lying open beside her. "Mom?" she asked tentatively, her voice small. Sarah looked up, forcing a smile. "Hey, sweetie." Lily perched on the edge of a chair, her gaze earnest. "Have you decided?" Sarah sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I have," she said, her voice betraying her apprehension. "I'll take you." Lily's face lit up, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Really? Oh, Mom, thank you." But Sarah held up a hand, her expression sobering. "There are conditions, Lilybug. This isn't a field trip. This is an opportunity to learn. You need to be respectful, even if you disagree with what you hear, and you need to stay close to me. Always." Lily nodded eagerly. "I promise, Mom. I just want to hear what he has to say." Sarah studied her daughter's face, searching for any sign of naivete or blind faith. She saw only genuine curiosity, a desire to grapple with complex ideas. "And if you get overwhelmed or scared or uncomfortable, we leave it. No questions asked, understand?" "Yes, Mom." Lily's voice was firm, her eyes unwavering. Sarah swallowed hard, the lump in her throat refusing to budge. This was it. She was relinquishing some control, trusting Lily to navigate a world she herself found difficult to comprehend. That IT was terrifying. "Okay," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Okay, we'll go." A wave of relief washed over Lily, quickly followed by a surge of anticipation. She jumped up and threw her arms around Sarah, hugging her tightly. "Thank you, Mom. This means so much to me." As Sarah held her daughter close, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was embarking on a journey into the unknown, a journey that could change both their lives in ways she couldn't yet imagine. She hoped, with a fierce, unwavering hope, that she was doing the right thing, that this rally, this encounter with Donald Trump, wouldn't shatter Lily's innocence, but would instead ignite a lifelong passion for truth and understanding. Only time would tell. Into the crowd. The closer they got, the denser the traffic became, a river of red caps and American flags flowing inexorably towards the fairgrounds. Lily bounced in her seat, her earlier anxiety replaced with a palpable excitement. "It's a lot of people, Mom." Sarah gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white. Understatement of the year, sweetie. She'd hoped for a manageable gathering, something Lily could process without feeling swallowed whole. This felt like a tidal wave. "Are they all happy?" Lily asked, peering through the window at the chanting, waving figures. "They believe they're doing what's right for the country," Sarah said carefully. "Just like people who believe different things. Remember what we talked about? Everyone has their own reasons." Lily nodded, but her brow furrowed. "But what if they're wrong?" Sarah sighed. That's what makes the world interesting, Lilybug, figuring out what you think is right. Parking was a nightmare. They ended up half a mile away, trudging toward the rally grounds with the throng. The air thrummed with a strange energy, a mix of fervent patriotism and simmering anger. Vendors hawked Trump merchandise, hats, flags, buttons, even tiny Trump figurines with comb-over hair that wiggled when you shook them. Lily tugged on Sarah's hand. Can I get one of those little Trumps? Sarah hesitated. Let's see how you feel about the real one first, okay? As they neared the entrance, the crowd thickened, becoming a churning, shouting mass. Sarah felt a knot of panic tighten in her chest. She grabbed Lily's hand tighter, pulling her close. Okay, new rules. Stay right next to me. Lily Dashbug and go wandering. Understand? Lily, her eyes wide, nodded silently. The noise was deafening now, a cacophony of chants, shouted conversations, and blaring music. The smell of hot dogs and cheap perfume hung heavy in the air. Sarah navigated them through the crush, a human slalom course of oversized flags and determined faces. She felt a surge of protectiveness, a primal urge to shield Lily from the intensity of the scene. Mom, I can't see, Lily complained. Her voice barely audible above the din. Sarah looked down at her daughter, her small face lost in the sea of adults. She hoisted Lily onto her shoulders, ignoring the twinge in her back. Better? Lily gasped, her eyes widening. Wow, I can see everything. The fairground spread out before them, a vast expanse of humanity stretching toward the distant stage. Banners proclaiming Trump 2024 and Make America Great Again flapped in the breeze. A jumbotron screen flashed images of Trump, smiling and waving. The crowd roared. Sarah felt a wave of nausea. The sheer scale of it was overwhelming, almost suffocating. This was more than just a political rally. It was a spectacle, a celebration, a testament to the unwavering faith of his followers. She scanned the faces, searching for understanding, for a glimpse of the humanity beneath the fervor. She saw determination, anger, hope, and fear, a complex tapestry of emotions woven together by a shared belief. A man in a camouflage hat bumped into Sarah, nearly knocking Lily off her shoulders. "Watch it, lady," he barked, then turned back to shout along with the crowd. Sarah steadied Lily, her heart pounding. "Are you okay, Mom?" Lily asked, her voice laced with concern. "I'm fine, sweetie," Sarah said, forcing a smile. Just a little crowded. But she knew it was more than that. It was the sheer force of the crowd, the palpable energy of their conviction, that was unsettling her. She felt like an outsider, an intruder in a sacred space. They edged their way further into the crowd, seeking a less congested area. The ground was littered with discarded flyers and crumpled paper cups. Sarah pointed out a discarded sign with misspelled words, trying to subtly reinforce the importance of education and critical thinking. Lily, however, seemed more interested in the people around them, her gaze darting from face to face, absorbing everything. A woman with bright pink hair and multiple piercings gave Lily a friendly wave. "Welcome, little one," she shouted above the noise. "Hope you're ready to MAGA." Lily blinked, confused. "What's MAGA?" Sarah cleared her throat. "It stands for Make America Great Again." Lily bugged. "It's a slogan." The woman smiled. "That's right. We're going to make America great again." She turned back to the stage, her face alight with excitement. Lily looked up at Sarah, her brow furrowed. "Wasn't America already great?" Sarah hesitated. "That's a complicated question, sweetie. Different people have different ideas about what great means." She knew she needed to be careful, to guide Lily without imposing her own biases. This was Lily's experience, her opportunity to form her own opinions. As the music swelled and the crowd surged forward, Sarah tightened her grip on Lily's hand. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were entering uncharted territory, a place where the lines between belief and fanaticism blurred. She just hoped she could keep Lily safe, both physically and emotionally, as they navigated this strange and unsettling landscape. A question for the president. The crowd's energy still pulsed within Sarah, a muted thrum against her breastbone. Having navigated the outgoing surge from the rally, They'd located a relatively quiet nook near a merchandise stand. It was a jarring display of toddler-sized political endorsements. Lily, wrestling with a rapidly melting snow cone, glanced up, a crease marring her forehead. "Mom, I still don't know what to ask him." Sarah knelt, liberating a napkin from her bag and gently wiping Lily's sticky hands. "You have time, sweetheart. Tell me what's been bothering you." Lost in thought, Lily's tongue flicked out, tracing her lips. "Pastor Dave says God orchestrates everything, even when it hurts." But she hesitated, eyes fixed on the dissolving ice. "But," Sarah prompted softly, "but if God's in charge, why the hurt in the first place?" The query, small and vulnerable, nearly vanished amid the vendor's calls and the departing attendees' chatter. Sarah inwardly sighed. It was the question, the age-old riddle that had haunted her since girlhood. How to convey the complexities of belief, agency, and pain to a child who still pictured fairies flitting in moonbeams. That's a profound question, Lilybug. Philosophers have pondered it for ages. But Mr. Trump is clever too, right? He knows so much. Sarah paused. He's seasoned, that he's witnessed a great deal. Perhaps he holds a perspective that might shed light. She was stalling, prioritizing Lily's budding faith over a politician's carefully constructed response. "So, should I ask him that? About God's plan?" Sarah weighed the dilemma. That it was a loaded question, easily twisted for political gain. "Perhaps we could refine it a little, personalize it." They settled onto a nearby bench. Sarah unearthed a small pad and pen from her purse. "Okay, let's pinpoint what you truly want to know. What stirs in your heart?" Lily worried her lip. "I want to know if he prays." "Okay," Sarah noted. "And what would you ask him about prayer? If he ever asks God about why there's suffering." Sarah scribbled, simplifying the phrasing. Finally, she read aloud. "Mr. President, do you ever pray? And if you do you ever ask God why bad things happen?" Lily listened intently, brow still furrowed in concentration. "It sounds right, Mom, but it's still scary." "I know. Honey, it's courageous of you to even consider it." Sarah squeezed her daughter's hand. "We don't have to, you know." Lily shook her head, a spark of resolve igniting in her eyes. "No, I just need to rehearse." The next hour unfolded as a series of practice runs. Lily would straighten her spine, inhale deeply, then whisper the question, her voice almost swallowed by the residual crowd noise. With each attempt, she stumbled, color blooming in her cheeks. Mr. President, easy, Lilybug. Take your time. Pretend you're chatting with Pastor Dave, but he's sporting a very snazzy suit." This offered a sliver of help. Lily strung together the question a few times without errors, but her voice retained a tremor. Sarah prompted her to project, to amplify her voice, but Lily's innate timidity posed a significant challenge. As the afternoon waned, the crowd thinned. The sun descended, painting the grounds with elongated shadows. The atmosphere, once saturated with anticipation, now carried a subtle note of exhaustion. Sarah glanced at her phone. They'd been here for hours. The likelihood of reaching Trump was shrinking with each fleeting minute. "Lily, sweetie, maybe we should." But Lily interrupted, her voice surprisingly resolute. "One more time, Mom. Just one more." She stood firm, shoulders aligned, gaze directed at an invisible focal point. She drew a deep breath, and this time, her voice resonated clearly, slicing through the departing crowd's waning hubbub. "Mr. President, do you ever talk to God? And if you do you ever ask him why bad things happen?" The question lingered, unanswered, unheard by its intended target. Yet for Lily, it was a personal triumph. She had discovered her voice, fleetingly, in the eye of the storm. Now, all that remained was waiting and hoping for an opportunity to unleash it. Sarah enfolded her daughter in a tight embrace. "I'm beyond proud of you, Lilybug. More than words can say." She understood that even without a reply, the endeavor had been worthwhile. Lily had confronted her anxieties, grappled with her uncertainties, and emerged, not with definitive answers, but with a heightened sense of her inner strength. And that, Sarah mused, embodied a kind of faith itself, the microphone. The Q&A detonated with the force of starting gun. A man sporting a Make America Great Again cap seized the mic, his query about trade imbalances ringing with well-rehearsed indignation. Sarah's stomach churned. This was the fulcrum point, the promise of revelation balanced precariously against utter letdown. She squeezed Lily's hand, feeling the delicate bones beneath her skin. Lily leaned forward, riveted. She worried her lip, a habit Sarah had long battled to curb. The man concluded his question, a Gordian knot of figures and accusations. Predictably, Trump spiraled into a harangue about rigged deals and treacherous nations. Sarah saw a shade of disappointment cross Lily's face. Hope, gossamer thin, threatened to tear. She murmured, "Don't fret, sweetie. This is a big crowd. He might not get to everyone." Lily shook her head, gaze unwavering. "Yes, that I need to hear what he says." Next, a woman in a vibrant pink Women for Trump tee grabbed the microphone. Her inquiry leaned less toward policy, more toward outright veneration, lavishing Trump with praise for his coif, his governance, and his unwavering dedication to the country. Sarah stifled a groan. This was precisely her fear realized, a spectacle of blind worship, not a genuine exchange. Then, a surprise that as the woman's effusion subsided, Trump gestured expansively, his hand arcing over the mass of faces. All right, he boomed, amplified. "Let's hit someone new blood that I recognize too many of you regulars." He paused, eyes sweeping the assembly. Sarah felt a sudden, keen anticipation that Trump's gaze locked onto Lily. "What about that young woman there?" he announced, pointing. "You in the blue dress. Come on up. Now what's your question?" Lily gasped, eyes wide saucers. She turned to Sarah, her expression a blend of astonishment and disbelief. Sarah squeezed her hand, forcing a smile. "Go," she urged. "You got this." Lily, propelled by a jolt of adrenaline, rose. The crowd parted as if by design, a silent lane forming. She moved toward the stage, her small legs carrying her with unexpected purpose that a ripple of curiosity spread through the crowd, next craning for a glimpse. Sarah tracked her daughter's progress, her heart hammering a frantic rhythm. This was madness, everything she had been dreading. But seeing Lily's resolute face, she knew retreat was impossible. This was Lily's pilgrimage, her moment to speak. Reaching the stage, Lily received a boost from a security guard, his features softening into a gentle smile. She approached the microphone, an imposing tower before her. Someone adjusted it, lowering it to the perfect height. Trump waited, his face an inscrutable mask, smaller in person, Sarah noted, less intimidating. Cameras converged, their lenses homing in on Lily's face. Lily clutched the microphone, her knuckles bone-white. The silence stretched, thick and palpable. Sarah held her breath, willing her daughter to speak. The world distilled to this singular point. The girl, the microphone, and this man. Finally, Lily's voice cut through the air. Though amplified, it retained its childlike timbre, its naive purity. "Mr. President," she began, her tone clear and surprisingly steady. "If God is omnipotent and benevolent, why does he allow suffering in the lives of good people?" A hush fell over the throng. Relief flooded Sarah that she'd done it. She had voiced the question. Now all that remained was the answer. Trump blinked, an indecipherable flicker in his eyes. He paused, glancing at the crowd, as if seeking external validation. Cameras flashed, immortalizing the moment. The air thrummed with expectation. Sarah held her breath, awaiting his response, wondering what it would be. What could he possibly say? Not trade, not borders, but faith, pain, the very essence of divinity. An unexpected answer. The silence lingered, a palpable tension underscored by the unasked question hanging in the air. Lily, caught in the spotlight's glare, remained as immobile as a bisque figure, her small hand still clutching the mic. Trump, usually a torrent of pronouncements, seemed genuinely discomposed, his signature turned deep into shade, and Sarah detected, for the first time, a flicker of vulnerability beneath the polished bravado that he raked a hand through his meticulously styled hair, a gesture less about grooming than a stalling tactic. The crowd, sensing the seismic shift on stage, stilled. Even the habitual disruptors near the back, usually reliable for their disruptive energy, seemed temporarily hushed. Well now, Trump eventually thundered, his voice slightly less assured. That's quite a question, Lily. A chuckle followed, oddly fragile in the vast arena. A truly substantial question, point one that many, likely everyone here tonight, has pondered themselves. He departed the podium, pacing slowly across the stage, head cocked as if parsing an internal debate. The movement bordered on defenseless. Sarah, watching from the wings, experienced a strange, unsettling pang of empathy. She'd anticipated a dodge, a trite remark, perhaps even a cutting joke, but this was unforeseen. You know, Trump continued, his tone softening, people assume. They assume I possess all the answers, that I'm omniscient, invariably strong. He paused, allowing the words to resonate. But that's hardly the whole story. Not by a long shot. He ceased pacing and fixed his gaze on Lily, his eyes surprisingly gentle. There was a time, he recounted, his voice barely audible above the crowd's murmur. A long time ago, when things went south, a business venture cratered. Spectacularly, I hemorrhaged money. More than I care to recall. He shook his head, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. Some claimed I was finished, irredeemable. Sarah's thoughts spiraled, a calculated play for audience connection, a manufactured relatable moment, or something deeper. She glanced at Lily, whose face was an impassive mask of concentration, brow furrowed in thought. I recall, Trump continued, lying awake one night, staring at the ceiling. Insomnia gripped me. I was afraid, truly afraid, and I began to question. I questioned everything I held dear, everything I'd sacrificed for. Did any of it matter? Was there anyone even listening? He paused again, his eyes clouding over as if transported back to that moment. I didn't pray, not in the traditional sense. I didn't beg for intervention. I simply spoke that I spoke aloud. To the empty room, I unburdened myself of my fears, my anxieties, my bitterness. And then I simply listened, and I heard nothing, absolutely nothing, only silence. A communal hush descended. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation. Sarah could feel the collective weight of 1,000 pairs of eyes, all riveted on the unlikely spectacle unfolding on stage. The following morning, Trump stated, his voice regaining some of its innate power, I awoke, and the dread persisted. The uncertainty lingered, but something had subtly transformed that I can't articulate it precisely. That IT wasn't a divine intervention. It wasn't a celestial sign. IT was merely a sliver of hope, that a faint conviction that perhaps, just perhaps, I could persevere, and I did. He turned back to Lily, his expression earnest. So, to address your question, Lily, about the presence of suffering, I'm at a loss. Truly, I don't comprehend why some endure hardship while others prosper. I don't grasp why the virtuous perish young while the wicked lead long lives. That I lack those answers. But what I can assert is that even in the abyss, even when consumed by isolation, there's always the potential for hope to bloom. And that, Lily, can be enough. He offered a smile, a genuine, almost bashful smile. Does that resonate in any way? Lily, her eyes wide and luminous, nodded slowly. Yes, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Yes, it does. The crowd exploded in applause, a tidal wave of release and catharsis sweeping over the arena. Even Sarah found herself clapping, surprised by the unexpected authenticity of Trump's response. IT wasn't the answer she might have proffered, but it was substantive, genuinely felt. As the applause ebbed, Trump pivoted back to the podium, his demeanor undergoing another transformation. The vulnerability receded, displaced by the familiar confidence and swagger. The moment of introspection had passed. The show, as always, must proceed. Tears of understanding. A choked sob surprised Lily, a tiny hiccup swallowed by the roaring applause that greeted Trump's pronouncements of hope. But another, and then another, burst forth, each one feeling like a jagged edge scraping her insides. Her lungs felt constricted, a prickly heat blooming behind her eyelids. Tears escaped, carving trails of warmth down her face. It wasn't grief. Precisely that it was recognition, that a sudden, sweeping comprehension that even a figure as seemingly invulnerable as Donald Trump, a man who cultivated an image of unassailable strength, had known the sting of insignificance, the tremor of fear. He, too, had stared into the abyss. This revelation vibrated within her, momentarily eclipsing her own internal debate. She hadn't anticipated candor. She hadn't anticipated vulnerability. Expectation had been set for bombast, bravado, perhaps even a curt dismissal. Yet, in that fleeting, unguarded instant, she'd witnessed something raw, something inherently human. It fractured something within her, allowing empathy and comprehension to finally take root. Beside her, Sarah felt a clenching in her gut. Lily's tears landed like a punch. She reached without hesitation, drawing her daughter into a comforting embrace. "Lilybug, what's wrong? Are you okay?" she murmured, her voice thick with concern. Lily just shook her head, voiceless, burying her face against Sarah's side. The familiar redolence of her mother's lavender perfume, usually a safe haven, now only heightened the intensity of her emotions. The tears poured, an uncontrollable deluge of feeling. The crowd around them churned with varied reactions, a sea of confused faces. Some, swept up in the fervor of the rally, remained oblivious to Lily's distress. Others, closer to the stage, noticed the display and began to whisper amongst themselves. "Look at that sweet girl," a woman in a Women for Trump shirt remarked, nudging her spouse. He really got to her. Her husband, a husky man sporting a Make America Great Again hat, scowled. Just overwhelmed by the mass, probably. Kids get like that. A young man, barely 20, with a meticulously groomed beard and a phone practically grafted to his hand, filmed Lily with a blend of curiosity and derision. "Liberal plant," he mumbled under his breath, already composing a scathing tweet. But compassion wasn't entirely absent. An elderly woman, her face etched with kindness and clutching a well-worn leather handbag, reached out and gently squeezed Sarah's arm. "She's got a tender heart," she offered softly, her words almost lost in the din. "Don't you fret." On stage, Trump, momentarily derailed from his practiced delivery, appeared uncertain. He cleared his throat, the sound amplified across the venue. "We're going to rebuild this nation's might," he proclaimed, his voice regaining its customary booming quality. "We're going to build a land where no one has to live in fear." The words, though rote, now seemed to carry a heavier weight, a faint echo of his earlier unguardedness. He directed a gesture toward Lily. "And we're going to ensure that young lady has a bright future, a future brimming with promise and possibility." He snapped back into character, the vulnerability receding like the ocean's tide. The practiced grin reappeared, the characteristic swagger returned to his posture. The instant of genuine connection seemed to vanish, consumed by the demands of the performance. Sarah, however, hadn't missed it. She experienced a fleeting prickle of something resembling respect, a hesitant acknowledgement of the man's inherent humanity, but the feeling was swiftly overcome by a surge of fierce protectiveness toward Lily. The rally, the hordes, the entire spectacle. It was simply too much. She tightened her hold on Lily, shielding her from the probing gazes. "Let's go, Lilybug," she said, her voice resolute yet gentle. "We've had our fill." Lily, still hiccuping, nodded, her tiny hand tightly gripping her mother's. The tears began to ebb, leaving in their wake an odd cocktail of exhaustion and lucidity. She glanced back at the stage, at the figure of Donald Trump, now completely absorbed in his role. She realized, with a conviction that startled her, that she could never quite see him or the world in the same light again. The questions hadn't evaporated, but something had shifted within her, a subtle recalibration of her understanding. Perhaps, just perhaps, even the most intricate queries could possess simple, human answers. Or, at the very least, human moments. As they turned to go, maneuvering through the crush of attendees, Lily spotted alone, white feather resting on the ground, as if dislodged from an angel's wing. She stooped and retrieved it, carefully tucking it into her pocket, a silent vow to safeguard the fragile hope she'd discovered amidst the chaos and the show, a reminder that even in the most unexpected of places, understanding could flourish, nourished by tears and illuminated by a passing glimpse of truth. Havenwood reacts. The car ride back to Havenwood was silent, thick with unspoken emotions. Lily stared out the window, the blur of green fields a stark contrast to the roaring energy of the rally. The feather, tucked safely in her pocket, felt heavy, a tangible reminder of the day's disorienting events. "Honey," Sarah finally said, her voice soft, "are you okay? You were very brave today." Lily shrugged, still grappling with the swirling mixture of confusion, empathy, and something akin to disappointment. "I don't know," she mumbled. He seemed sad." Sarah sighed. "Politicians are good at seeming things. Lily made out it's their job. But what if it was real?" Lily insisted, turning to face her mother. "What if he really believes or doesn't believe? And that's why things are the way they are." Sarah ran a hand through her hair, her weariness evident. "Lily, the world isn't that simple, that it's not just one person's beliefs that shape things. But it matters, doesn't it? What people in charge believe." Lily pressed, her voice cracking slightly. Sarah pulled into their driveway and switched off the ignition. "Yes, it matters, but so does what we believe and what we do." That night, Lily tossed and turned, haunted by the image of Trump's face, the carefully constructed facade momentarily crumbling to reveal a glimpse of something vulnerable, something almost lost. She kept replaying the moment, trying to decipher its meaning, but the answer remained elusive, like trying to grasp smoke. The next morning, Havenwood buzzed. News of Lily's bold question had spread like wildfire, fueled by social media posts and a local news channel's brief segment. Some praised her courage, calling her a modern-day Joan of Arc. Others criticized her naivety, dismissing her as a pawn in a political game. And still others questioned Sarah's parenting, suggesting she had brainwashed her daughter to tea the Havenwood diner, where Sarah worked as a waitress. The chatter was incessant. Mrs. Henderson, a staunch Republican, patted Sarah's arm and said, "That girl of yours has got guts, Sarah. Guts, I tell you." Mr. Peterson, a retired teacher with liberal leanings, shook his head sadly. "Poor child, she's being used." Sarah, exhausted and emotionally drained, forced a smile and kept pouring coffee, determined to maintain her composure. She knew Lily's actions had opened a Pandora's box, unleashing a wave of opinions and judgments that threatened to engulf them both. Later that day, Pastor Davies called. Sarah recognized his calm, reassuring voice instantly. "Sarah, how are you and Lily doing?" he asked. "We're managing, Pastor," Sarah replied, rubbing her temples. "I can only imagine," he said gently. "I wanted to ask, would Lily be willing to share her experience with the congregation this Sunday?" Sarah hesitated. The thought of exposing Lily to more scrutiny filled her with dread. "I don't know, Pastor, it's been a lot for her." "Of course," Pastor Davies said. "But I believe her story could be a powerful one that it could spark a conversation about empathy, understanding, and the role of faith in our political discourse. It's a chance for Havenwood to listen, really listen to a young voice." Sarah weighed his words. She knew Pastor Davies had a gift for bringing people together, for finding common ground amidst division. And maybe, just maybe, Lily needed this. Needed to speak her truth, to make sense of her experience in a safe and supportive environment. "I'll talk to her," Sarah finally said. But no promises. That evening, Sarah sat with Lily on the porch swing, the setting sun casting long shadows across the lawn. "Pastor Davies called," Sarah began, her voice hesitant. "He wants you to talk to the church." Lily looked up, her eyes wide. "About Trump, about your experience," Sarah corrected. "About what you felt, what you learned out if you want to." Lily was silent for a long moment, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. The cicadas buzzed in the trees, their rhythmic drone a constant backdrop to their conversation. Finally, she turned to her mother, her expression unreadable. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. I still don't understand any of it. Sarah wrapped her arm around Lily, pulling her close. That's okay. Honey, you don't have to have all the answers. Just tell them what's in your heart. She paused, considering her next words carefully. Sometimes just asking the questions is enough. A ripple effect. Sunlight, filtered through the church's stained glass, splashed the sanctuary with jewel-toned light that Sunday. Lily, a small figure before the imposing cross, stood at the podium, her typically restless hands now tightly clasped. From the front pew, Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Pastor Davies' introduction had been gentle, underscoring Lily's sincere quest for understanding, her steadfast belief. Lily cleared her throat, the amplified sound underscoring her youth. A week ago, she began, her voice steady despite a slight tremor. I asked Mr. Trump about God. I had no idea what to expect. I simply needed to know what he believed. She described the rally, the multitude of faces, the crowd's vibrant energy, and that unanticipated moment of stillness when Trump had regarded her, truly seeing her. She recounted his reply, not as political rhetoric, but as a glimpse into a man's inner life. He seemed burdened. Lily shared, her voice faltering, as if carrying a great weight. And when he affirmed his belief, I felt a flicker of hope. She paused, her gaze encompassing the congregation, faces etched with concern and curiosity. I still grapple with questions, she confessed. I struggle to grasp the presence of suffering. Yet perhaps simply listening to one another, even amidst disagreement, is a beginning. Lily concluded with a biblical verse about neighborly love and descended from the podium. A moment of quiet settled over the church, followed by a burst of applause. Sarah hurried to embrace her daughter. You were remarkable, sweetie, she murmured, her voice thick with pride. Pastor Davies approached, his eyes alight. That was truly moving, Lily. Thank you for sharing your soul with us. The effect was immediate. A local reporter present at the service posted the story that very afternoon. A blogger then amplified why the following morning. Girl queries Trump on faith was a top trending topic. The story exploded online. News organizations, both domestic and abroad, clamored for interviews. Lily's image was ubiquitous on screens, websites, and newsprint. People were captivated by her ingenuous question, her unwavering conviction, and the unexpected vulnerability it had drawn out from a figure known for division. But alongside praise came censure. Some accused Sarah of exploiting her daughter for partisan ends. Others challenged Lily's authenticity, suggesting manipulation. The comment sections of online articles devolved into vicious arenas, rife with spiteful remarks and personal attacks. Sarah did her utmost to protect Lily. She declined the vast majority of interview requests, vigilantly monitoring her daughter's presence online. She granted a few interviews to respected journalists who vowed to prioritize Lily's faith and spiritual exploration, rather than stoking political flames. One evening, Lily sought out Sarah, tears welling in her eyes. Mommy, people are saying horrible things about me, she whispered, anguish in her tone. They say I'm ignorant and that I don't know anything. Sarah enveloped her daughter in a comforting hug. Those people don't know the real you, Lily Bug, she soothed, gently stroking her hair. They have no idea how intelligent, kind, and courageous you are. Their words carry no weight. It's what resides in your heart that truly matters. She reminded Lily of the positive responses she'd received. Letters from children inspired by her bravery, messages from adults who had rediscovered their spirituality due to her influence. She emphasized the good, the illumination Lily had brought into the world. The situation tested Sarah's own beliefs. She struggled to reconcile the venom of the digital sphere with the purity of her daughter's spirit. She found herself praying with renewed fervor, seeking direction and fortitude. She began volunteering at the church, assisting with the children's programs. Years went by. Lily matured into a pensive, empathetic young woman. She never forgot her encounter with Donald Trump. It shaped her perspective, fostering a profound understanding of empathy and mutual understanding. She became involved in community outreach, working with disadvantaged youth and volunteering at a local food bank. On a crisp autumn afternoon, Lily relaxed on the porch of her family home, savoring a cup of tea. Sarah joined her, settling into the adjacent rocking chair. The leaves of the front yard's maple tree were vibrant with autumn hues. "Remember when I asked Mr. Trump about God?" Lily inquired, a gentle smile gracing her face. Sarah chuckled softly. "How could I ever forget? It was quite an experience. It shifted everything, didn't it?" Lily reflected thoughtfully. It demonstrated that even seemingly disparate individuals can share common ground. It emphasized the significance of hearing each other out, even when it's challenging. "It offered me some valuable lessons as well," Sarah admitted. "It taught me to maintain an open mind, to have confidence in your intuition, and to never underestimate the profound impact of a child's faith." Lily reached for her mother's hand, offering a gentle squeeze. "I'm grateful I asked," she said softly. "I'm grateful I listened." The sun began its descent, painting the horizon with hues of amber and rose. Lily and Sarah remained in comfortable stillness, observing the transformation of the sky. The consequences of that single question, posed by a young girl with a generous heart, continued to unfold, impacting lives in unforeseen ways. The wisdom gained, the bond strengthened, and the faith reaffirmed had established a legacy of empathy and compassion, a testament to the transformative potential of genuine human interaction in a world often defined by division.